and live streaming?
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, prepared to take minutes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. We are now calling this meeting of the Executive Committee to order. Please record. The time is 7:09 p.m. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening for the Executive Committee meeting for Brooklyn Community Board 9. I thank all the chairs who are here present for your reports to let us know all the great work and share all the great work that your committees are doing. All right, I want to make sure that we are moving as quickly as possible and as expeditiously as possible. So I'd ask for all chairs to please keep your summaries to under 2 minutes. Hopefully we can keep it moving, and maybe we'll entertain a couple of questions depending on time as well. But I want to make sure we try and get through our agenda this evening relatively quickly. Okay. All right. So with that, we are now going to go into committee chair reports. Is there any brave soul who wishes to go first?
I don't want to do it.
Mr. Norville, great, because I was just about to pick on you two.
Of course. Is my audio clean? I think I have a fan in the background that might be a little bit noisy. Are you hearing that?
We hear you. It's a little on the fuzzy side, so just if you speak louder, I think we should be able to pick it up.
Okay. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't go first. Let me go after a little dog.
Okay, but you raise your hand first, so we'll give you that. Mr. Almanor, are you there? Do you have a report for Parks and Recreation?
Yes, I'm here. Actually, I have a very short report. I didn't have a quorum. I had 3 people absent due for various reasons. So there was no action item taken to bring to the executive board. We basically do some planning for the upcoming community fair. And then we had a group visit to the Brooklyn Museum last Saturday, which was pretty good. So that's it, my report. I submitted the minutes. Most of the stuff is in the minutes. Thank you for the opportunity to report.
Okay, thank you very much. Very briefly, I know you didn't have, are there any questions? We could take a couple of quick questions for the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs Chair. Any questions? Please use the raise hand function.
Oh, I have one, Brett. Oh, sorry, Ethan.
All right,
go ahead.
Ethan,
Sure.
Ethan, I see you, and then Primo, we'll see you at, and then we'll move on. Ethan, go ahead.
Just want to ask, what do you have planned for the community fair?
So far, we have, as part of the meeting, we are looking to put together a section for some cardio video exercise, a roller skating activity for exercise. That's something there, but we're still firming up certain activity. But that's so far, that's one suggestion that's been made. But I just want to highlight, since you asked that, at the meeting last month, we put into resolution in terms of the date and also the location of where the community fair should be. So by next month, we should have more specifics because different people are coming with different activity for what they will contribute to the community resource.
If I can ask Fred the Chair 1 second, quick question. When are these fairs typically held, and how soon should our committee decisions be finalized, do you think?
Well, that's part of the reason why we wanted to have all those suggestions in, so that way the district manager and the staff will be able to compile those and see what we can pull together and to see what kind of resources we'll need. So really, today is kind of the deadline. End of the month is really the deadline because Dante and the team need to get working on that in terms of getting that information so we can make decisions.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. All right, Primo.
I was going to ask about the Mount Prospect Skate Park, which some of y'all may have heard about, but like
yeah,
2 weeks ago. Yeah,
I can answer that very quickly because we became aware at the meeting about the Mount Prospect situation, and I and a few other people went to look into it, and we promise we're going to bring back. We'll come back next month to get more specifics. One idea that's being circulated is probably extend an invitation to Councilwoman Crystal Hudson to let us know what's going on.
All right. Thank you very much. And please just make sure you forward those ideas that you have of those activities to the district manager. So even if they're not fully fleshed out, at least so that way he has it on his radar, and we can, we can ask questions or plan accordingly with that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. I do see our newly minted chair of economic development, Ms. Raptopoulos. I see you. How you doing?
How's it going?
You got good news for us, right?
I do. We have a new project that we're working on. We're going to have a business owner breakfast for business owners of CB9 so people can community build, get to know each other. Hopefully that will spur some extra, partnerships or what have you. I know a lot of the corridors don't really talk to each other, so Flatbush and Franklin and Nostrand and whatever, Roger. So we're gonna invite everybody and hope that people come. It's going to be May 7th. That is our hopeful tentative working date, 9 to 11 in the morning. And tentatively it's at Sweet Catch over on Nostrand. If there's too many people, maybe we'll have to bring it somewhere else. But, and we're going to be inviting electeds and just getting a flyer out, basically door to door to get people to know about the event and hopefully come. So that's what we started working on this week or this month.
Okay, that sounds phenomenal. I love it. I love it. I love it.
I love it too.
Okay. All right. So the only thing in terms of process, the one thing we would need to do is, so you already voted on it as a committee?
We didn't vote on it. I guess we need to vote on it.
Yeah. So the one thing we
Okay.
would need is a formal vote from the committee. And let's talk offline, because also what I want you to do as part of that is we'll give you the event planning form. Because some of those statistics we'll want to just actually make sure we have. So that way we know what you have, because it sounds like venue you've already got. But if there's anything else that we need to include in that, there's printing, flyers, agendas, programs, anything of that nature that we would need for that program. We just want to kind of get those costs up front so we can kind of figure out how we pay for it. But so let's talk offline. We'll make sure we get that information for you. But
Great.
but I think it's fantastic.
Great, thanks.
Okay, we can take a couple of questions for the economic development chair. We can take two. Hands, please. Seeing none. Okay, everyone stands in awe. Thank you very much, Ms. Raptopoulos.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I see the chair of environmental protection. Ms. Timothy, you have a report?
You're muted, Debbie.
Here. Hi, good evening, everyone. I am actually trying to get organized here. However, yes, we do have a report, and I'm sure everyone will read it once it's out from our last month meeting. We are expecting the health department to come and do a presentation for us. I can confirm that with Dante soon. In March on environmental contents. So hopefully that should be good. We learned something, and I don't want to linger anymore with all the other things we're working on. Mr. Herbert is on here. I'm sure that he'll talk about all the tickets he's been getting on, park vehicles and, all these things in the community. So we're working on trying to get things, taken care of that has been ongoing, and, it's an ongoing thing. There's, no time frame in terms of when these things get done. And, so we're just trying to push them, as much as we can. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. All right. We will take a couple of questions for the Environmental Protection Committee. Any questions?
No.
All right, Suki, I see you. Is there anyone else that has a question?
I just wanted to mention kind of a random environmental thing that came up. Someone was posting notices on Bedford Avenue near Hawthorne and Fenimore saying that there was like an insanely annoying buzz that was coming from these HVAC units on the roof of 19 I think 1920 Bedford. It's one of these new construction buildings. And I could hear it to halfway down my block on Fenimore, although I'm not sure if it is continuing. But you know, I just wanted to put that out there as something that might become more common as more and more buildings convert to electric heat and they have these HVAC units on the roof.
If I may, I actually got that request. There's a sign on the building regarding parking spots for that location. I strategically reached out to inquire about parking spots and finally got a hold of management there. Apparently, the lady that I spoke to felt that there wasn't a hum, so I'm waiting for the manager to contact me on that matter. But the council member's office is also
On it.
On it as well. They're the ones
Okay.
that kind of brought me into it, but we kind of tricked them. So they called us back.
Okay. I mean, I'll tell you from what my experience, it's not a loud hum, but it's very it's constant and it is annoying. I just I don't know how else to describe it.
Okay, so no, but thank you for bringing that to our attention. So Dante, as you're having your conversations, let's look into that and let's see. I would like to know what that is, just so that way we know on a go forward basis, you know, how to address these things and to make sure that, you know, we can keep tabs on that. No, but thank you very much for that, Suki. Mr. Almer, we'll take a question and then we move on.
Yeah, this is a question about that same situation. A neighbor across the street from me brought it to my attention about a month or so ago because he could not sleep. He even got into the building and had pictures. As a matter of fact, I had planned to contact the environmental committee and invite him because this really, I mean, it's not so much loud, but I think it's providing a specific frequency that is very annoying to a lot of people and to the brain. He was lucky enough to get inside and took pictures of the whole unit, which I showed to me. So I will reach out to him and he could send all that information to you because he came to me. As a matter of fact, when I saw the flyer the other day, I took a picture of it and I was going to bring it to our block association meeting because he's one of the people participating in the block association. It's a definite problem. I myself and him went to the building and listened to it. So it's a problem. But I think it's the kind of frequency that's coming from that unit is the one that's causing that. Not so not the loudness. If you know anything about frequencies, certain people resonate with certain frequencies. And I think it's a very destructive frequency that's coming out from there.
I see the high school teacher coming out of Mr. Almer there. Yeah.
Yes, the chemistry and the physics.
No, but thank you very much for that. And absolutely, and just as the plug that I want to make sure that is part of our regular conversation. Anytime we get these kinds of feedback from neighbors, it's great to bring it here, but also please make sure we spread the word to tell neighbors to report these things to 311 and then to let CB9 know as well, because one, it's important that these things get documented as part of the quality of life issues in the district. So one, by doing, by calling 311, it does that. And then by following up with CB9, that allows us to actually keep track of that as well, to see what is just the occasional minor annoyance to what is a consistent thing that needs to be addressed either through the additional resources or through policy. Okay. Ms. Timothy, did you have a question?
I just have one quick question. Are there residents in the building? Or is it vacant?
It's not vacant. It's a brand new building.
Yeah, I believe it's residents.
It's a building that have short-term rental. People come here, they spend a month and go. That building was built about a couple of years ago. So it's recently new. It's half a block away from where I live.
Okay,
All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
So actually, maybe we should be looking at you, Mr. Almanor. What were you doing that night? Yeah. He's our number one suspect there. Okay, all right, but thank you very much for the report. Okay, moving along, I do see our second vice chair. Fran, are you there? You have a report for Health and Social Services?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Well, yes, it's nighttime. Good night. We have been meeting. We are full on underway with our planning for the district-wide mental health forum, which the date that we have is tentative. It's May 31st at Downstate Hospital at the auditorium. So we have a committee that we meet to discuss the different levels as to the flyer, what we the wording on the flyer. We are still discussing as the panel, and we have one of the committee members. She's on with, and she also works with Health and Hospital, which is Darian. So she's there with us. We have persons from Downstate Hospital, representative from Senator Myrie, because all the electives, they are on board. Congresswoman Clark's office. So all our community electives, they are on board, and then they want, when I approach them, the response to me was that they wanted to be a 3-part series mental health forum. So we're looking to bring in the law enforcement and different persons in the community, especially social workers. We'll be having resource tables, and we have any clergy who will be there as well. So it will be all around that. So our first focus will more or less be dealing with adults, and our next meet will be dealing with with children, mental health with children, and how we should handle it. So we are still on our way. We are still in the process of putting everything together. And the flyer, as soon as we meet and then we finalize the flyer, it will be sent out so the community could come. So it's going to be hybrid. So persons who are not able to attend, they will attend. They will they will log in from Zoom, and the event will be from 11 to 3. So lunch will be served for everyone.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And when you're as you're working on that, when you have your flyer designed, please make sure to give that to the district office, because we want to make sure that it goes through them, it goes through our channels, as well as we make sure that we're not trying to program or schedule anything around that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Will
you.
do.
All right, hold on, see if there's a couple of quick questions. Do we have any questions for the Chair of Health and Social Services? Suki, I see you. Is anyone else? All right, Suki, we'll take your question and we're going to close on that. Go ahead, Suki.
I was wondering if your committee has discussed the proposed closure of SUNY Downstate's hospital. The hospital building is massive. It's like a full block. And so from a land use perspective, it's obviously a big deal if it closes, and what that could be used for. And Unella had raised it in my subcommittee. Are we going to do some sort of like town hall discussion at CB9 about this? Because essentially with Vital Brooklyn, we're closing every hospital other than Kings County. So that would be the one hospital that remains to serve districts 9 and 17. So it seems like a pretty big deal. And I'm just like, I'm in favor of doing a town hall. I would think that your committee would be the right ones to sponsor this, but I guess you probably already have your hands full. So
No, with that's in the works. I met
okay.
I had word with H&H
Okay.
last week. I went down to Manhattan, so I sat at the table and we discussed it. It's on the table. It's something that we've been discussing, and then H&H is really leaving it in the hands of us as a community board, and then also as the review board. Me has been the chair for the review board at Kings County. So I met with the union personnel and other persons from downstate, and also about 2 weeks ago there was a meeting and a last minute call, and the chair and the manager, they were present, and I attended that meeting. So since then, we have been meeting and we have been discussing. So we will let you know right now what they're doing. They're planning the town hall, but they're reaching out because of how the elected officials they're working. So they're sending out invitations to them so that they can be at the table with us as well when we're discussing. Especially
how
in the
do
case from
we-
Albany. So as soon as the dates, they're
Okay.
sending out invitation to them. When the dates and everything is sent, everything is scheduled, it will be sent out to the invitation will be sent out to the board, so the entire board will know and they could attend.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay,
I'll touch on that because definitely we've started having some very early conversations. I'll touch on that a little bit as part of my chair's report. But absolutely, you know, I think CB9 needs to we will be a part of that conversation, and we need to have a conversation as well. But I'll touch on that when I get to my chairman.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. So let's see. Right along. Oh, Ethan, you know what? I called you before. I don't think we got your report for transportation. I'm sorry.
That is true. All good now. No noise issues. So I mean, last committee meetings, we saw that we took care of a few community fair plans. We're gonna have like a workshop for the district. And I'll get more finalized plans to you guys as we go along. We've got planning and we had a vote already on the general gist of it. But apart from that, there's a lot of demand to push back to get the bike lane plan as well as the traffic calming measures for Washington Avenue back to full board. Well, they never got there in the first place, but there's a renewed interest in getting it there. So that's the biggest thing that I have for today. Apart from that, things are humming along quite smoothly. There's some interest in getting rid of the sidewalk parking on Rogers Avenue, where the fire station is. We're going to be doing some brainstorming on how we can replace that with, where we can move it, but we haven't fully on that yet. So that's just for future reference. As of right now, the two main voting items would be the those resolutions on the bike plan, as well as the traffic calming measures on Washington.
Okay.
That's about it for me.
Okay, no, thank you very much for that report. And also I wanted to thank the Transportation Committee, because I think it was a little bit after we had met last month in terms of there was a meeting we had with the Borough Commissioner for DOT. I think there was a lot of things that came out of that, and I want to make sure that we're following up. So Ethan, let's touch base just to make sure that we re-engage. I think that it was fruitful in terms of that DOT had said that there was going to be a lot of follow-up in terms of the way things get done. And we want to strike while the iron is hot and make sure that they hold to those commitments. So I just want to say thank you again to you and your committee for the questions that were asked and for the engagement. And let's touch base in terms of making sure we keep them, in there to make sure they're addressing those issues that your committee is still, answering the questions that your committee has posed.
You're welcome. I think DOT will see that we're a pretty active committee from here on out.
Yeah. No, transportation has usually been one of ours. That's been one of the, so, thank you for taking the reins on that. Okay, questions before we let you go. I do see Ms. Westerdahl. Are there any other questions for the transportation chair? We take one more. Please use the raise hand function. Okay.
Hello?
All right, Ms. Yep, hold on one second. Okay, Ms. Westerdahl, I see you, and then Suki will take your question after that. Go ahead, Ms. Westerdahl.
I'm just not sure what just came out of that. Are those motions, the resolutions that the Transportation Committee made 2 months ago, are those going back on the table to be voted on for the full board meeting? Because I'm hopeful for that to happen. Or are you putting them back on the table or something, Fred? What's going on here?
I mean, I think since we had spoken to DOT directly about the bulk of those resolutions, I think we're just moving straight forward because DOT had already committed to having those conversations. So I just want to push that forward at this point because I'm not sure. I mean, we could vote on them, but I think we've already got the commitment, so I think we should just really put that energy into moving straight forward.
I don't think that we do, and I think that the commissioner was very interested in hearing those resolutions, and once we make the vote, we can present them to the commissioner. He seemed quite interested in hearing about those. So once they're voted on, they can be presented. I think that was the whole point, right? He
If I
wanted to
recall,
the committee was
if I rec-
working and what everyone was doing and what we were interested in, very interested. So let's put them on the table. Let's vote on it.
if I recall correctly, he did agree with some of what we said and did give us a caveat. He said he wasn't exactly sure that everything would be made 100% accurate to what's in the resolution, but he did. I can agree that I did notice an interest in him seeing these resolutions voted on by the full board.
Okay, so let me ask this: can we at least draft that? Because you know, and this goes, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because this really speaks to the way the board should probably be working on a go-forward basis. Ms. Westerdahl, I thank you for bringing that up because we probably should start doing it more from the resolution format, because what that does is it solidifies what we know to be the facts of why we're voting on this matter. You know, the whereases are all the different points, you know, in terms of the points that have been brought up about traffic safety, about traffic calming, about the different aspects, and you know, those final points in terms of what the resolutions are, what's resolved. It really puts a fine point in terms of that. But I do want to make sure that we take care to structure that, because that's what we want to make sure we hold the elected officials and DOT to. So let's do this. Ethan, let's work on crafting that resolution so that way the full language is there. We can continue engaging the borough commissioner because he's already agreed to that. But I think it's good to the point that we should put it on record. This is exactly what we're, you know, the issues are and what we're looking to be resolved.
They did that already. They're done. They're well structured. I've seen them. They're good.
We are done. I mean,
They're
you
good.
can always do a review.
I don't see why they dilly-dally around and mess around, send it back and forth, bounce the ball, waste time. It's done. Let's put it up. Come on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westerdahl. Thank you.
You know, we did put a lot of work into getting those resolutions written and structured out, as well as a lot of the mapping and stuff to go along with it, so it's clear in more ways than one. But I understand if anybody wants any kind of, like, you know, revision that could be done, but yeah, we thought it through before we did it the first time.
No, understood. And definitely, I'm not saying that, you know, we're expecting things to be on the cutting room floor. I just wanted to make sure that it's there for the flow and just in one. You have two resolutions, correct?
Yeah, it's two. One for traffic calming, one for bike lane plan.
All right. And all I'm saying is just combine it into one. It's one. And if there's any other issues that were left out on the cutting room floor, we make sure that that's added. So there's one statement that goes out. Especially because I want this to be the policy statement for CV9 with regards to transportation, if that makes sense.
Okay. Well, if you want, we can work with you on that.
Okay, let's do that. We'll work on that, and we'll make sure that that final presentation is there. But again, we don't have to stop the conversation with DOT because we can still ask them to continue their work on that. But we'll have that formal resolution for the board. Let's target it for next month, definitely. So we'll work on that. It'll be presented. It'll be distributed to everyone, so they'll have that. Okay, Suki.
I guess I couldn't hear what you said, Ethan. I'm kind of middle-aged. So you said that you passed a bike lane resolution, or was it bike lane for a specific avenue?
No, it's a comprehensive plan for the bike lanes
Okay.
in District 9.
Okay.
It lays out like where bike lanes don't connects them, and then works on adding some in a few areas that connect into Prospect Park and stuff like that.
I see. So if your committee has already worked on these and passed these, is this in your notes from previous months? Or can you summarize those resolutions for us now?
I can summarize them, but there's a lot more that goes with them. There's a map we built out. There's like street dimensions of the measurements of the bike lane size compared to the actual street, stuff like that.
Is any of this in your minutes from previous months?
I don't believe so. I'll add them.
Okay, because it sounds like a huge plan that you've worked on for a long time and put a lot of work into, but like for those of us who weren't at the committee meetings, we don't know anything about this at all. Like we kind of like heard at the last meeting with the DOT commissioner that you wanted to have a comprehensive plan, but we didn't know at what stage this was at or what you were considering or anything like that.
It was done since November.
What's that?
It was done since November, actually.
Yeah, to the chair's point.
Okay, so was
if I
this
can-
in the November minutes? Can I check the November minutes?
I don't believe it's in the minutes. The minutes, I think, contains a discussion, but we didn't actually put the resolutions in there, even up to now.
Oh, okay. Can you, I mean, I won't go into the whole thing of why they weren't there, but can you kind of summarize some of the main points of what you're trying to do?
I'm sorry, but just in the interest of time, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to make sure that we are able to do this, because I want to make sure it's a holistic. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to do the whole summary for that right now, because we do need to move on in the agenda. But I think that, and I want to make sure that we harmonize those two, because I think what came out of that conversation with the Brooklyn Borough, the Brooklyn Borough Commissioner, is that they're open to these things. I just want to make sure, and I think part of what the conversation was is we want a holistic plan when it comes to this. I think we want to avoid looking at it in silos where it's like there is a bike plan, and then separately there is a traffic calming plan, and then separately there's any other plans. This is all part of a holistic view in terms of what we want in terms of transportation and public safety in the district with relation to transportation. So, I mean, I know that it's a little bit frustrating, and and I definitely want to say that I respect the work that they've done. I'm just saying is just a little bit more time just to make sure that we button this up and make this the policy that we want it to be. And it's not just one or two pieces, it's one whole plan for this district in terms of transportation.
Yeah,
To your
Can I just
point.
mention one thing?
Right. And to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to look at it, because to the point, there were so many facets of it. I think we can't do it justice by saying, okay, I don't have the time to have, the transportation chair give us those pieces.
Right. Well, in the interest of time, let me just say I can send this stuff to the board if that makes sense. I can probably email it to all of you. I'll talk to Dante. We can get this out so that everyone gets a chance to look it over before we actually do bring it up in a board meeting.
Yeah, it's been a consistent complaint from my community that they don't know about things that are being proposed. Like when the city bike stations were proposed, they were like, oh, we didn't know. Like, when did anybody tell us? So I want to make sure that, that people have the chance to engage. I mean, I knew, but some of them didn't know. And if it's not in the minutes, not everybody's going to watch the videos to know what you did.
Right. And a lot of the times, I mean, the resolutions aren't always drawn up before the meeting's over. So we didn't have them ready by the time the minutes were ready. So we didn't get that. We weren't able to add them immediately.
Okay.
So, I mean, we should have done that probably after maybe a few weeks or so, but we'll do it as soon as we can now.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. And we'll talk offline about that. We'll try and get that drafted up so that way it's ready for the next meeting. And it incorporates all those pieces that you have. But thank you very much for that. Okay. I see our chair for Education and Youth Services. What is the good word?
Hi, everybody. So just briefly to quickly go through what we've been talking about. The last meeting we had District Leader Shaquana Boykin come in and talk about, what her role is within the community, and also if there are people interested in becoming a part of I don't want to say it wrong, but I know it's like a judicial committee that can help to choose judges for New York, for our areas and districts, that they're able to do so. If people are interested, there's a way to apply for that, because that's mainly her job is around choosing judges and giving people information about the judges who are running and things like that. We have a WhatsApp group that we create just so that we can keep in touch with each other, or if there's any things that we need to follow up on some of the initiatives that we're doing, we have that. we're working to plan a cleanup day, April 27th for Earth Day. We're considering and talking with the principals about supporting with reviving the Jackie Robinson Garden at the school. And doing like a Black History Month event with the youth sometime next week. We haven't solidified the date, but we're working to solidify the date before Black History Month is over. And it is really going to be people just coming and volunteering some time to teach them about like new or different people throughout history, and like taking small groups of kids and doing that type of activity. And I'm just looking at what else is on here. Oh, the Cat B Bodega Lounge owner came to our meeting, and she just talked about like what it is that her lounge is open to. Like if we wanted to use it for events or space, we could do that, and we would be able to have like some free events and things like that there. She wants to be able to be supportive of the community. We're also doing a clothing drive that's still ongoing. The clothes would go to the organization that John Beckles is working with right now, which they have, and it's for people who have someone like incarcerated within the family. And so they need like clothes, shoes, coats, things for kids, things for women, things for everybody within people's families. So I know that it's supposed to be able to be donated at our office at CB9. I know I had put a flyer out there. I'll double check to make sure the dates haven't ended yet, because if it has, I'll remake it and resubmit it so that people know they could donate clothes. And we're planning to do a youth forum in conjunction with the Jackie Robinson School, because they're doing one. So we're all going to collaborate and work on that. They have a new director now, so we'll be able to resume conversations around that. And, you know, we're going to look into utilizing the micro grants from Citizens of New York. And I'm going to write one around like a family fun fitness day and things that we would like to do in May. And that's pretty much what we got going on for this year. And if there's any questions, you can feel free to ask.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Okay, are there any action items that you need for the exec and the board to vote on at this time?
Not yet. No.
Go ahead, Linda, is that you?
No, not yet. We don't need any money.
Oh, okay, I'm trying to see if there's anything that needs to be voted on. So I have a question just for clarification. Do we need, like, what is something that needs to be voted on and what is something that doesn't need to be voted on? So just for clarification, so I'm a little bit clearer on that.
Yeah, I mean, basically any event. Yeah, I think, okay, let's throw it out there and we'll see if we can narrow it down. All the events we want to make sure are voted on, because we want to make sure that it's a commitment that the committee is making, or is willing, you know, thinks that, you know, something that the majority of the committee thinks. We want you to vote on that, and those should come to the exec as well, because you know, ultimately all the events should be under the umbrella of CB9. So the committees will spearhead and drive those, but you know, especially when the CB9 logo goes on there, we want to make sure that everyone CB9 knows about it.
Okay.
And is okay with those functions as well.
All right. So what we have coming up, so would it be like us doing a cleanup day? Should that be something that people would vote on? Like us doing the Black History Month, is that something that needs to be voted on?
Yes, those should be voted on. And part of what we want everyone to do is also do those event forms. So the thing, you know, what should happen is for every event you vote for, you do the event form. Some of them are really straightforward, where it's like, you know, these things, if it's a webinar or something like that, very little in terms of resources, no problem. What it does is we know that it's an event, very low overhead. The district office can put it on the calendar. We can make sure the notifications go out to the board. And, you know, we send it out, you know, it becomes part of the e-blast as well.
Okay. All right,
Right.
so I know this is my second year, but I still trying to make sure I remember the policies and procedures and everything. So I'll definitely turn that in this week. So well, for us, I know that we'd like to vote on doing like a Black History Month event, which is like I said, people from the youth committee would just volunteer to come and talk to kids about various people throughout history. That was going to be next week. Thursday was the date we said, but then I was made aware at the end of last week that the school is having a event the same day. So I'm gonna try to see if people are okay with doing it for next Wednesday instead of Thursday. So I would like to I guess put out a vote if that's okay with the whole crew, with everybody.
Okay, so all right, so that's for Black History Month, or when? When is this?
Want to propose it for next Wednesday.
Ooh, it's a little on the tight side.
Yeah. I'll be sure to make sure I do it earlier. I'm realizing now that everything has to be voted on.
Okay, so this is for next week, Wednesday, you said? What's that?
Yeah, I think that's the 28th. Yeah.
2/28. This is at Jackie Robinson.
Yeah, it's at Jackie Robinson School.
And what's the event? It's going to be, what is it again?
It's just people from the youth committee or anybody who wants to attend to come and just talk to the kids about various people within Black history that they want to share with the kids just for information. We also have a Black history bingo game, so we could play the game with the kids and things like that. So it's just for them to interact and give them some knowledge about various people throughout history. And then the kids can learn, and then they might perform something, or if we're able to get them to that point. But it's mostly just an event to volunteer and give them information about various people throughout history.
Okay. 2/28 at Jackie Robinson, Black History Month event. Resources, do you need anything in particular for that, or?
No, I won't even need anything, because it's not really we're gonna have to spend money or do anything like that. And I would have enough to offer snacks and stuff like that for those who volunteer if they need to come. So that's fine.
Okay. All right. So I'm noting this as a voting item. What will probably end up happening, because this is upcoming, it's so quick. Well, two things. One, because it's coming up quick, and then two, because it's low. It's not resource intensive. We might be able to approve that as an exec. But just again, for all committees, as a note, when you're planning these things, please make sure that you're giving us the advance notice, because again, that might be one of those things. We might have other board members who want to join as well, but that's why we want to give enough time for people to put these on the calendars and everything else as well.
And should I make a flyer for it, or just leave it as is?
Who's the flyer going to? Who's the flyer for?
Did we want to, I know you guys usually post stuff on the Fridays. Do we want to make it open, or just leave it as more just for us?
I think at this point we'd probably want to keep it, and that could be part of the conversation. I think we need to keep it closed. I don't know what the policies are at Jackie Robinson, and I don't want to put it out to the public because we don't know who's coming, and there may be a whole bunch of other things that may be considerations that we.
Okay, that sounds good. That's fine.
All right. Well, we'll talk about that. So that'll be one of the voting items. We'll talk about that when we get to that section.
Okay.
Right. All right.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I didn't say anything else.
Okay. Are there any questions for the Chair of Youth Education and Youth Services? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and we'll talk about the voting item in the next session, in the voting session. Okay.
Okay. So should I put out the other things that are upcoming now, since you want more vote, or?
How many, is there anything coming up within the next few weeks, or can we get the entire slate and we can vote on it next month? Is that okay? Is it something we can do, or we have something more time sensitive?
Yeah, because I don't think I have anything until maybe April. Well, no, the micro grant, for me to write the micro grant, I believe that comes up early next month, so I might want to put that out there, but everything else probably could be April to May.
Okay, let's talk offline. I think the micro grant you can probably still put in for. And that'll affect it whether, and then you can put in the budget form after that and we can just say micro grant pending. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Well,
No
let's do
problem.
that. So let's just create a listing of the items you have so that way we can talk offline about what do you need to do in preparation for the next meeting. So that way we make sure everything's voted on and approved and
Now, do I need to do it because the clothing drive is kind of ongoing? Is that something else I need to vote for? Is that needs to be voted?
probably should. Has that been coordinated with Dante already? So it's going to the office?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then let's not worry about that. I think we're good with that.
Okay.
But the other items we can do.
All right. Thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. I am scanning and I apologize. Hold on. Chair of Public Safety.
Primo.
Nope.
Nope, Janelle.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Jen. How you doing?
I'm well. So I'll just jump right into it. So we had two SLA applications and we had one OCM application. The first SLA application that we had, well, they were both actually renewals. The first one was Balboa Restaurant Inc. And the committee voted to approve this applicant. The second applicant that we had was Union Street Pub. Now this applicant, they've had a history of a lot of 311 calls, noise complaints. So prior to the meeting, we asked them to come up with a noise mitigation plan that they would be able to share with the committee. And the applicant basically explained to us that he had put some things in place prior to the meeting. However, we felt as though more should happen. So we voted to approve this application on two conditions. Well, the second thing I will state is that the applicant's hours on Friday to Saturday can go up until 4 a.m., 3 to 4 a.m. in the morning. And the committee felt pretty strongly on that was just way too late to be in the community. So we voted on this we voted to approve this application on two conditions: that they would come prepared with a noise mitigation plan to present at the general board meeting, and that they would shorten their hours from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. So that's the second applicant, which was Union Street Pub. Now, the OCM, we had one OCM application. It was Flatbush Exotics, and this is their second time coming back to the committee. The committee, so what I will say is that a committee member or a visitor a community member, right? They suggested that the applicant should donate a certain amount of their proceeds to any nonprofit of their choice, which is a good idea. But if we're asking this business to do that, then we have to ask all, right? And that's not right, because they should have the choice overall, if that makes sense. So first, when the committee voted, it was not in favor. And then a committee member put a motion on the floor to vote for this application without any stipulations, and the outcome was favorable. So this application was approved by the committee.
Okay. All right. So in general, so I'm hearing, so 3 applications, 2 SLA and 1 for OCM. Balboa's is a renewal. Union Street Pub is a renewal as well, and you approved the stipulations.
Yeah.
And then there's an OCM application that you approved.
Yes.
Ultimately approved.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Do you have anything else for the committee?
And then, also too, we just spoke about some community fair planning, how the Public Safety Committee wants to show up for the community fair that's going to be happening in the summertime. And then we also just talked about some engagements that we might potentially want to do over the spring, summer. So yeah, that's what we pretty much discussed in our meeting.
Okay. All right then. Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the Chair of Public Safety? Suki, I see your hand. Hold on. And Raptopoulos, I see your hand as well. Go ahead, Suki, and then Vanessa.
Hey, so with respect to the OCM applicant, Flatbush Exotics at 544 Flatbush Avenue. I don't know if you're aware that this is less than 500 feet from a preschool, the Maple Street Preschool, which is at 21 Lincoln Road, right next to the subway station. Some of you may be familiar with it. But I went to the planning department's website that lets you measure distances, and the distance from the Maple Street School to the Flatbush Exotic storefront is 365 feet. So the cannabis law does not allow recreation, adult use retail dispensaries within 500 feet of a school or 200 feet of house of worship. So I think we need to deny this particular location. I emailed Fred and yourself and the office just prior to the meeting with the documents.
Okay.
And the Maple Street School, by the way, has been in the community since the 1970s. So this is, and it's been at that particular location for, I think, over 10 years. This is a very long-standing, well-known community institution.
Can we just make that process clarification, Fred, that it is the state's job to do that review? We can flag it for them, but ultimately it is the SLA's job to make that determination around proximity and distance.
No, and thank you very much for that clarification as well. It gets tough because then it becomes a matter of who's got the tape measure and who's going where. The state has taken that one, and the state actually is active in terms of doing those things as well. So, I mean, to the first vice chair's point, we can definitely flag the concern, but then we can leave it to the state. I think it's up to the state after that, at that point, to confirm or reject it based on that basis as well, because there's other processes that happen after that point. Yeah. Okay. No, but thank you very much for
So
that.
are we prepared to add that as a stipulation to approval, that if it's found to be within 500 feet of a school, that it's not approved?
I don't know if we need to add it as a stipulation, but definitely as part of the communication. If it goes up or down, we can write that as part of the letter that we sent to OCM. That it was raised, the application is approved, but there were concerns in terms of, and I want to say this as well. OCM is such a new process that I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with it. So I think that it's one of those things. It's good for us to flag these things because they become aware of some of the issues in the community as well. So I think that it's important that if we vote up or down, if we vote in favor, that is something that we should communicate that to them as well, in terms of they need to make sure that that's part of the process, or they clarify if there's anything that we need to know about that.
What I would say also, it's an inherent stipulation that you do not get a liquor license if the state deems you within 500 feet of a location. So it's not a stipulation that we need to add for our own approvals. From a process perspective, we can approve liquor license, and then if the state deems that it's within 500 feet, the state will not approve a liquor license. We don't give the liquor license.
Well, in this case, and the only reason why I say that is because this is OCM, and I think they're still getting their legs under them. So that's the only reason.
And I think this is also a tricky location where it might not be obvious that the school is there, because the 21 Lincoln Road address is a weirdly shaped lot that has like one place facing Lincoln Road and another place facing like Flatbush Avenue. So you have to know which building it is. And the building where the Maple Street School is, as many of you know, is next to the subway station, and it is very close to the 544 Flatbush. So I think it needs to be flagged, and we will, the community members will flag it to the state.
Duly noted, and that will definitely be part of the conversation when, if we approve and bring this to the board. Okay. Ms. Raptopoulos.
I believe that Flatbush Exotics 2 and Flatbush Exotics 3 are also part of this Flatbush Exotics, or is it just the one location that you guys are talking about?
It's just the one location, Flatbush Exotics.
Okay, so I'm just curious if there's any penalty that these guys get for operating without a license for all of this time, or you can just like operate without a license.
Is there a way to take it off? Because right now it's.
Or the two have nothing to do with each other?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Question is, if you're allowed to just open up a a dispensary without a license and then apply for a license, so you've been doing it illegally for the past year, that doesn't have anything to do with your approval?
Okay, I want to make
I
sure
can- do you mind if I hop in real
Go
quick?
ahead. Go ahead, sir.
So, there's a lot of considerations at play here. First, do they have a license to operate at a certain cannabis level? For Flatbush Exotics, they actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Janelle, but they do have a license, a hemp license. Basically, what that means is you can distribute products under a certain threshold of THC. And so we've had that conversation with them in the Public Safety Committee, and they're telling us that all of their products are under a certain threshold and they are licensed by the state for that. And so it's always a part of the conversation if we suspect that somebody has been evading the rules. But in this particular case, these folks do have a license to distribute products under a certain THC threshold already, and we have that license.
Interesting, because Flatbush Exotics 3 that's next to my store is definitely selling weed, and they're not even applying for a license. And I would assume that these 3 locations are connected to one another. They have the same name.
Yeah, probably. They could be selling flower, they could be selling products. They're claiming that those products are under a certain THC threshold.
But is somebody checking this before they even approve these licenses?
I mean, we can go there and smoke the weed, I guess, but
No, what I'm saying is there's got to be some kind, I'm sure people are calling into 311 making these complaints. Is anyone checking this? Is there like a record being kept before it goes before the community board and we're approving these people for licenses?
Well, this goes back, and I'll this, I'm sorry, one quick second. And this is where Fred is going to be a broken record. This is why we keep saying people need to call 311, because by doing that, it creates the record. Because part of what we do is we pull these things as part of quality of life. So, you know, if I'm complaining to my neighbor, that's great. But you know what? The city has no idea that there's a conversation going by, which is important for us to make sure that we're doing those things and making those reports. There's a little bit that I'm going to talk about during my chairman's report as well, because I definitely understand that we're in brand new territory with this whole thing with cannabis licenses and where these stores are popping up and the enforcement piece. So there's a conversation that we have started. I'll talk about it a little bit, and Dante will probably touch on that a little bit as part of his district manager's report, in terms of where the enforcement is coming from and who we need to be engaging with respect to that as well. But I'll touch on that shortly.
And also, Linda, can you just identify yourself? Are you a board member?
No, I'm not. I'm an LMA resident and a board member there. So no, I'm not a board member.
Understood. From a process perspective for everyone else, also, our office always checks NYPD, FDNY complaints for every licensing practice.
Because
Where did she go?
Work also happens in committee, so like let's.
Right. Okay. All right, Ms. Westerdahl, we'll take a quick one, but we have to move on. Go ahead.
Having attended the safety committee meeting, I think it's important that Janelle discuss the license, the OCM license that came before the board, supposed to come before the board last session. Show up. It was quite a long, deep discussion about that license, and bringing it back for discussion, I think it would be favorable for the executive board to hear what happened there and understand what's happening with that license. I'm not sure what the latest update, what investigative work the committee has done, but there was some controversy surrounding that application. So if Janelle could please discuss the update for that, it would be great for everyone to know.
The update was that application was approved during our last committee meeting.
Right, but did you say you were going to bring it back because you needed some further investigation, or shouldn't it be going before the board as well? Like, where is that? It was very strange.
I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit, which application is this specifically we're talking about now?
It was also on Flatbush Avenue, I believe.
I believe Teresa's talking about a different application, not Flatbush Exotics.
Yeah, not
Right.
Flat.
No, not Flatbush Exotics, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page about which application we're talking about.
I thought it was the puff and paint from last month. Isn't that
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes. It
Okay.
didn't get voted on.
Because they
Yeah.
never showed up.
Yeah.
Now I'm confused. Which applicant are you talking about? Are you talking about OET Inc.?
OET, that's it. Yeah. 2 months ago, we approved an application, but they told us that they wouldn't be present at the meeting last month. So they would be at this, they would be presented at this one. We basically skipped it last month because they weren't in attendance. Tabled it.
So are they coming this month, or is it going, like, in the committee, it was stated that you were gonna do further investigation in the committee because of the issues that were brought up. And now it seems like it's gonna be voted on again. I mean, what's happening with that license?
Why don't we circle back with the board office and see if they've been in communication and if these folks are even coming or intended to come, and then Janelle, maybe you can have a little bit more time to look into where the application stands.
Because if they're coming and we gotta vote on it, you know, I wanna know.
Yeah, we hear you.
Well, hold on, just from a process perspective. So, Janelle, I just want to make sure I'm a little bit slow this evening. OET, did your committee approve them?
I guess I'm a bit confused because I guess I'm confusing them with the application that there was an issue with one of the applications that we approved. The first application that we approved in January, I believe there was like an issue with like when the license was actually like distributed to the individual of when they like took over the actual place. So I think I was confusing what Teresa was saying with that applicant.
That is, I believe, the applicant that Teresa's discussing.
Yeah.
And
If I may, I don't believe the applicant appeared before the Public Safety Committee this month. An inquiry went out from the board office to that applicant because some questions was raised to when that applicant took control of the space in question. We just received the information back from the applicant. I haven't been able to thoroughly analyze it. Janelle, I just sent it to you. So let's look it over, have a discussion about it. But you know, that's kind of where we're at. They responded to the inquiry from us, so we just have to look at the information to see if the allegations that were brought up are substantiated.
thank you, Dante.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Thank
no, thank
you.
you. Okay, all
You're
right,
welcome.
So
all
we
right,
won't vote on it then, right? It's not voted on this month, or maybe.
They're gonna review the information that they've received and make a decision as to whether it'll be voted on at the meeting.
Okay, so just to tie a bow on this. So right now we have from Public Safety, we have those 3 applications, 2 SLA, we have Flatbush Exotics as an OCM. Now, the only other thing we have to do is that there were a number of applications we did not do last month because we had to adjourn. So those applicants should be coming back for this month.
No.
How many applications did we not do? Do you recall, Remo or Janelle?
I believe it was 3 SLA
3, I
applications.
think.
Yep.
There were 3?
I think so.
Okay, those should be, we should be prepared to bring those back because those were supposed to have been reviewed from last month.
They should also be faster this time because we've gone over the information and asked questions.
Right. Really just a couple of questions and we should move on those. The questions really should be reserved for those 3 new applications that are coming before the board for the first time. But let's just make note of that just as when we create the agenda. We need to make sure we note that because we have to keep track of time because I'm sure the security won't be too happy with us if we're going, trying to do a repeat of last month.
Yes, please, let's move fast.
Okay, all right. Suki, I see your hand up. We can take one last very quick one, but it has to be very quick.
So just a couple more process questions. You said that Flatbush Exotics has a hemp retail license. I've been asking the board office for a copy of that since last year, and I haven't gotten it. Can we get a copy of that prior to the board meeting? Will that be attached to the application?
I will look to see if we have that in our possession. If we have it,
We do have
then-
it. We do
okay,
have it.
then
Yeah.
then we'll put it on there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thought it was on the
And-
last application, but if I'm wrong, the one
Right, we'll just confirm it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and the second question is, in terms of any of these cannabis applications, what is the community board's role to investigate and or comment on in terms of the approval criteria?
All right, and thank you for that question. And this is these are the things that we're working through. In terms of how much investigation do we do, is a question that we probably need to start deciding as a board. And I think even just in terms of making sure that we're consistent in terms of what we're asking. Yeah, I guess it's almost a non-answer. Yeah, we're still investigating how far do we go, because I think to the extent how much extra paperwork we're asking for, are we asking people to bring in birth certificates? Are we asking people to do things of that nature? That's where we're kind of looking at this point. Because I understand that there's definitely concerns that we want to make sure we address. How far we go or what is inbound for us to request and what is not is something that we're still looking into. I think we're working through that process. I don't have the answer for you. We're looking into that. And I think that's part of the reason why we have the committee do that. And that's part of the reason why we have this conversation as an exec. So we can kind of figure out what stance as a board we should be looking at and what things we need to start looking into.
And I also just have to say, because it's really disturbing, the suggestion to have any applicant, whether it's an SLA applicant or an OCM applicant, donate money to a nonprofit in exchange for our approval is hugely concerning. That is a huge conflict of interest. It's probably some kind of violation of the law. I mean, it sounds like it to anybody out there, it sounds like a shakedown. I really think that we should not be entertaining these suggestions at all. And I'm glad that was disapproved by the committee.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And to that point, I think, again, there's some things that we need to start talking about and having conversations about what inbounds for us to do as a board and what is not appropriate for us to do as a board as well. So that's a question. I'm glad we kind of dodged that bullet for this month in terms of it was shot down in committee. But I think we probably need to create policy around that so that way we're consistent all the way around in terms of when people come in, they know what, and for committee members and for board members, we understand and we're all on the same page about what's inbounds, what is good conversation, what is good for us to stipulate for the best benefit of the community, and what things are just out, beyond, that are not appropriate, that we shouldn't be asking. But additional questions, and Janelle, so definitely we'll be looking to have conversations with you about that as well, and definitely looking forward for input from your committee in terms of those questions so we can vet those. And I'm looking at our first vice chair as well. We're going to be, he'll be part of that process in terms of as we streamline that for the board. Okay. All right. Okay, and I apologize in advance if I missed anyone. Are there any other chairs on who have not had a chance to report? Okay, I think we got everybody this month. Thank you so very much for your hard work. Okay, so just to make sure I'm noting the action items, I have those 3 applications for public safety that we need to vote on. We have that one item, that event that we need to approve for education youth services. Transportation, not a vote, but we'll talk about the resolution in terms of drafting that. Health and social services, nothing. I think, is there anyone else who has an action item we need to vote on this month?
Brad, I don't have an action item, but I didn't give my report. So whenever
Okay.
you're
I am so sorry. My apologies.
It's okay. I talked a lot today, I know. I'll make it really quick. So we just went over some of the things that we've been doing, follow up on things we've been doing. City of Yes for economic opportunity. The City Planning Commission had a public hearing on the 29th. We don't know when they're going to vote yet. It could come at the end of February. And then after that, it would move to the city council. Green Fast Track is a rule change. It's not a ULURP process because the claim is that it's a ministerial action that doesn't affect any significant legal rights. So that's not going to be voted on by the city council. I think the city planning commission is going to vote on the 22nd. City of Yes, for housing opportunity, our subcommittee discussed that. I put most of that in the notes. That's the next big piece that's coming up. Definitely invite everyone to the subcommittee meetings to hear more about this because it really affects everyone in the district. It's going to be effectively a district-wide upzoning. But you have a chance to get your, concerns in about that now. We talked some more about some of the land use framework concepts. I think there's a lot of concerns surfacing about fair share as well as concerns about demolition of homes, about smaller buildings being emptied of tenants and small businesses because we have all this excess zoning that allows building owners to add floors or demolish and rebuild. And what they do before they do that is they empty the building. There's also like large lots facing wide streets where potentially like very tall, very large buildings could be built. Some of them are not so obvious. So a couple of fair share things. The city charter does have a requirement for fair share. It's section 203. It's more of a disclosure requirement. It doesn't necessarily require like equality amongst all districts when it comes to city facilities, but that's something to keep an eye on. I know Dante, that on the 21st, you guys are having a hearing on the citywide statement of needs. That's where it's supposed to go if the city is planning on citing any kind of homeless shelters or, like waste facilities or anything like that. The other thing is Intro 1031, which was just passed by the city council in January. They're looking to set housing production targets for every district. And the idea is that this should be kind of like shared around. And I think that's a sentiment that is shared by many people in our district because we've seen a lot of housing development, as have most districts, but there are some districts that haven't. We talked about the community fair. There was proposals to create poster boards with maps of the zoning in the district, like large poster boards with color maps of the zoning in the district, maybe some pictures or diagrams on what kind of building or development could happen in different zones. Also to have iPads available so that people to show people the city's Zola website, which is very useful for looking up addresses so that people could see what zoning district they're in and learn more about that and kind of personally engage with it. The Spice Factory wants to present in March. So we discussed this like several months ago when they filed their new proposal to upzone from R6A to R8A, which would be from 7 stories to 14 stories, and from 168 units to 475 units. So that proposal is still on the table. They may have made some minor changes. I think they want to come in March. The committee seemed open to that. So again, that's something that I would urge anyone who's interested to attend if the developer is planning to come to speak to them. It was suggested to us by the district office that there's a nonprofit that's doing zoning workshops over the summer, like educational workshops. The committee was mostly not interested. There were a lot of fears that this might be the first step towards a rezoning. People were not interested in having a nonprofit do this. That's it from my side. Oh, and the district office has said that they could provide the poster boards and iPads, and one of our committee members, who's an architect, said that he might be able to print the maps in his office. So there might not be a need for budget, but I guess I have to fill out the forms, and like everybody else, we probably have to formally vote on this, right? So, do I submit the request forms now, or do I wait until we voted on this?
Vote on it. Yeah, because actually what should happen, what we would like to see is if you fill out the event form,
Okay.
along with whatever resources you need, and you vote on that, and you would let us know that you approved the event, and these are the parameters that you approve with that as well, so that way we can have that conversation.
And Dante, if you could, there are additional public information sessions from city planning for City of Yes housing. So just, you know, Dante's been great about sending out those reminders beforehand to all the board members. Just keep an eye out for that.
Okay, thank
That's-
you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Your
No,
report's
that's it.
concluded?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Are there any questions for the land use chair? We can take a couple. Okay. Seeing none. All right. Thank you very much. And you said you have no action items for this month, correct?
No.
Okay. All right then.
Wait, I have a quick question. For the fair, does each committee need to fill out a form to be in the fair? Because I don't think we had to do that before.
Not a form. All we wanted to know what the recommendations were from the committees. So as long as they're included as part of that, I would just ask even if the chairs, just so that we won't have to go through how many pages of minutes, just for the specific suggestions to the district office, so that way we can compile those easier.
Preferably in a
Alright.
list. Thank you.
Preferably in a what, Dante? I
In
didn't
a
hear.
list format.
A list format. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Of course.
All right. Thank you very much. And again, thank you to all the chairs and to the committees for all the work that you do.
Mr.
All right.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
I must, let's see, give me 1 second. The chair of housing did email.
Thank you.
Earlier, the board office, so I'm just going to read verbatim because that makes it easier for me. Okay, the chair said that the housing committee voted in a resounding yes for the 418 Rogers Avenue LPC application after some questions and discussion. Let's see. They very much recommend this vote get passed by the exec and head to the general board. She also mentions the housing committee also voted to write a resolution that will encapsulate all of the housing issues, concerns in the district. They hope to vote on that during the March meeting, so it will be ready for the March general board meeting. So it sounds like the resolution that was brought up earlier, they're expecting to vote on that in March.
Okay. All right. Very well. Okay. But all right. So housing has the one action item LPC for this month, LPC for 418 Rogers, correct?
Right. Correct.
Okay. All right. Made a note of that. So when we get to the agenda, we'll set that as well.
Is that the same one we already voted on? We were supposed to vote on last time?
It was tabled. No, it was no, actually, specifically, it was referred back to committee because there were a number of questions on the application.
Is that the landmark?
all right.
Correct. Correct.
Mr. Chair, okay.
All right. You know what? I guess we can take questions on that item. Are there any questions with regards to that housing report? Any questions? We'll take two. Okay. All right. I do see.
Can we? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. What?
I just want to hopefully. I would like to put the SLA and the OCM before that because it was. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I want to get the SLA applications and OCM done for those people because it's been growing. So can we do those earlier in the agenda?
It's harder to put them earlier. The best way to get to them is to just get through the agenda very quickly. But we'll see. As we're putting the agenda together, we'll try and see what we can do to just try and better make improve the pacing. But duly noted. Thank you. Okay, Dante, I do see one. I see one of the attendees has a hand up. We can take that very quickly, and that'll be the last question, and then move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I would just ask if you can review the Housing Committee meeting. The last Housing Committee meeting, the issue, which supposedly there would be a vote on next March, we did have a vote in February. So there was a vote on the second resolution, which passed. And that should have been an action item on Vital Brooklyn. So I would just ask, when previous housing chair sent an email saying, look, we're going to vote next month on this supposed Vital Brooklyn, which was part of it, a vote did take place. So I would ask the you to take a look at it and why it's being said that it's going to be voted on next month when we already said that we had concerns about Vital Brooklyn psychiatric and we wanted those concerns in the resolution because Letitia James has to sign off on this, and we wanted it this month. Okay, so that is incorrect information. It's in the video that says there's concerns about Vital Brooklyn psychiatric, and since we're talking about all these pot places and all these different liquor places, Vital Brooklyn is very important. The last motion that was passed, and I'll end with this sentence. The last motion that was passed, the resolution, it said we oppose Vital Brooklyn because we don't have enough information. The next month, there was a there was a whole presentation by Assemblyman Brian Cunningham, which gave a whole bunch of information. So the previous resolution that CB9 gave is worthless because it just said we don't have enough information. That's why we're opposing it. That's why this is important. And since CB9 did not give any resolution opposing this, for or against it, it's very important we do something. The housing chair and everybody on the housing committee for an initial motion abstained. So you have everybody abstained on one of the previous things that said we don't know what's going on. There is a problem with housing again this year as it has been last year. All the members everybody from East Flatbush said we oppose it. You had 4 people at the housing committee that said we oppose 681 Clarkson, which is Vital Brooklyn psychiatric. Everybody on the housing committee who lives in East Flatbush opposed it. And everybody who lives out of the district, out of that little neighborhood, who live west of Franklin, they all said, we're abstaining because we don't know what's going on. We don't have enough information. It is a complete embarrassment. You have to the housing chair because she never went to a single housing meeting or land use meeting, and then you put her as a chair. That's the problem. And they still don't know what's going on. It's a disgrace.
All right.
Absolute disgrace what's going on.
Okay, well, listen, we did receive, the word we received from the housing chair was that was a matter that's going to be considered this month. We can look at the video and we'll see where we are. And we'll see if this is something that is either left in committee and left for the vote, or if it's something we need, that there's more.
There's an EIS on it, Fred, please. There's an environmental impact statement. The community board has not given its opinion on it. It did in 1990, and there's something fishy going on.
Okay, we'll look into it. We'll check. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we are now moving on to the next agenda item, which would be the district manager's report, the administrative report.
All right. Good evening, everyone. All right. As mentioned earlier, we are going to have a public hearing for the FY 25-26 Statement of Needs on public facilities. This is an opportunity for folks to provide testimony regarding public facilities in our district. Ideally, if you think that we need certain facilities, would encourage you to provide such testimony stating such. If there are facilities you wish not to see in our district, definitely opportunity to provide testimony for that as well. We'll send out another e-blast with the flyer for the information, but again, that will be tomorrow. We will start at 6:30 for that public hearing. Tomorrow, at the corner of New York Avenue and Empire Boulevard, the northeast corner, that section will be under construction by DDC to upgrade that location to ADA compliance. That construction is scheduled for 1 week, so it's set to commence tomorrow and is scheduled for 1 week. All right, so in partnership with HPD and Digital Girl, which is a nonprofit located at the Major Owens Wellness Center, we are going to work together to host an HPD Housing Connect workshop for the public. Right now, the date is tentatively March 6th at 6:30 p.m. So what I've been able to do is HPD is able to do it virtual, but if folks are unable to participate from their houses, or they're unable or able to connect to the internet, what they can do is they can actually go to Digital Girl, which is at the Armory in person. So we're going to have a kind of a two-part Housing Connect workshop with HPD and Digital Girl. So virtual, and for folks who may not have access to internet at home, they'll be able to go in person at Digital Girl. An official notice went out. It was in our e-blast starting March 1st. 2024, all businesses in New York City must use bins with a secure lid. If your business does not have a secure lid, if your business does not have a bin with a secure lid, it will be fined. Keep bins outside facing the building or within 3 feet of the building line. Set bins out after 8 p.m. or an hour before closing. If you are seeing any issues with it, if you have any questions, if you're a business owner and you need some clarity, feel free to just shoot me an email. I'll send it over to DSNY with your questions. The Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, DCWP, is proposing to amend the penalty schedules concerning the towing of vehicles and booting of motor vehicles. DCWP will hold a public hearing on this proposed rule. The public hearing will take place at 11 a.m. on March 11th, 2024. The public hearing will be accessible by phone and video conference. We will continue to blast that out in the e-blast moving forward. The Department of Transportation currently has a survey that's active. This survey is for their strategic plan. They want to hear from you. You have until March 1st, 2024 to fill out that survey. That survey was already in our e-blast. It will remain in the e-blast up until March. So if you have any thoughts about the Department of Transportation, feel free to fill out that survey. DSNY, this is just an FYI. DSNY did conduct a tag and tow operation in our community district back January 30th to 31st. The results of that tag and tow were the following. 19 vehicles were removed, 11 were set for rotation tow, and then 8 were derelict. 10 summonses were issued. 23 vehicles were tagged. Of those 23, again, 11 were set for rotation tow, and then 12 were derelict. And then 6 vehicles were checked by the enforcement unit so they could remove without delay. So I just wanted to note and update the executive committee to let you all know that we've been receiving these requests. I want to thank Mr. Herbert. He's sent over a lot of information that we've been able to forward to DSNY and NYPD. We have a new CO of the 71st Precinct, CO Thomas Smith, who has some experience with traffic enforcement. So we also have a new deputy chief at DSNY who started, I believe at the beginning of this year in our district. And these 2 individuals I've been able to meet with, and they've been very active regarding the derelict vehicles, abandoned vehicles. We know this has been a long-standing issue in the district. So please, if you still see them, report 311, send it over to the board office, and we'll send it over to DSNY and NYPD so they can put it on their list and we can see some action on it. Another update is the Department of Transportation has approved a traffic signal at the intersection of Franklin Avenue and Union Street. It is tentatively scheduled to be installed May 31st of this year. So another street light coming to the district. That's good news. So if you know of anyone who lives in that area, please inform them. Dollar Ride actually came to the Transportation Committee meeting this past week. They do have a survey, a feedback form. Definitely want to encourage folks to fill that out if you take Dollar Ride, if you're familiar with Dollar Ride. We will definitely put that in our e-blast as well, but definitely want to direct people that way. And then the last thing is the community board application has officially closed. Any questions concerning appointments should be directed to Borough Hall at cbapplication@brooklynbp.nyc.gov, or you can call Borough Hall at 718-802-3700. Many of you may have received emails directly from Borough Hall. So just follow up directly with Borough Hall concerning any appointments. All right, that's the finality of my report, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions for the district manager? Call for a second time. Any questions for
I'll
the
give a
DM?
shout out to Dante and Mia and Khalid for all of their work. I had the opportunity to go by the office earlier this month, and they've been doing a lot, building a lot of relationships, hosting a lot of meetings, and the reason that we're getting so much activity is because they've been so proactive.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Shout out to me and Khalid.
That's right. Listen, they're not even on the call, but literally I can tell you they are still working. Like, information's always happening. So shout out to them.
No,
well, Dante, thank you for your help.
Of course, thank you. And thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Okay, all right, so we're gonna go right into the chairman's report. I'm gonna keep this very short. I may have a couple of items for the board meeting on Tuesday, but I think, and we've already kind of touched on something. First of all, I wanted to discuss downstate a little bit, or at least give a little bit. So yeah, so definitely the news is out with respect to the plans that the state has put forward with respect to downstate, this being called a transformational plan. Definitely we have concerns as a board and as a community with respect to the degree of what they're talking about doing, plus the speed of which they're talking about doing it as well. So this is something that we are engaging with a number of the stakeholders. We want to be very careful in terms of the statements we put out or the information we put out, because there's a lot of stuff that is still kind of fluid and up in the air. But we are in the process of doing that engagement, and we are going to be looking at some point to start a plan of action in terms of what's the best way for the board to engage in this dialogue and what is the best interest of the board and the community with respect to this. So I would just say, stay tuned. We are getting information, and as soon as we have the information, we want to make sure that it is going out as appropriate, and that as a board, we are taking the stance that is, that is in the best interest of our community as well. I wanted to echo the Dante's report with respect to the meeting with the 71st Precinct. I want to thank him. I also want to thank our public safety chair, Janelle Basil Charles. We were able to go and meet the new CEO for the 71st Precinct. We did go up with a number of the issues in terms of the quality of life, about traffic calming, about enforcement, about definitely with respect to the cannabis and OCM and the illegal shops. So they definitely understand, and they're working on that. And we're looking at having a very close relationship with 71st in terms of doing that. One of the outcomes from that conversation as well is something we didn't know in terms of, we keep saying NYPD needs to do more, do more, do more. NYPD is not the one that actually takes care of the enforcement when it comes to the OCM and cannabis. That is something that happens through the New York City Sheriff's Office. So our district manager has actually already done the initial outreach in terms of making sure we understand who's responsible, what is the best way to get information, and to kind of determine how do we, we do the proper reporting, and how do we, get rid of the bad actors in the district. So that is a conversation that is starting. We're definitely going to get more information out. I do want to kind of also throw out there as well that we are dealing with a different entity with way fewer resources than NYPD, in terms of, I think they said that, the sheriff's office has a fraction of the staff that NYPD does. But with that being said, and maybe that's as we talk going into budget season and we're talking about resources the community needs, we should be having conversations about making sure that people who are engaged, who are applying for these OCM licenses, are coming in and going to be good neighbors while they are here, despite whatever our feelings are about, regarding cannabis. But we need to make sure that they are compliant, that they are following the law, that they are not being nuisances or anything else as well. So additional conversations are happening. So as we get information, we're going to be making sure we turnkey that to public safety and to the board and to the community as well. So please stay tuned for that. And just again, touching base on that OCM conversation, I definitely understand the frustration with a lot of this. This is new to us in a lot of ways. I think the governor is even on record as saying, yes, this rollout was, she had some choice words with respect to the way this rollout happened as well. This is a learning process. I want to make sure that we are getting the feedback, and I want to make sure we're documenting the feedback as well. There are definitely going to be changes that are necessary to the laws in terms of the way things are done, in terms of the process. And I think that this board is well positioned to be able to make those recommendations. You know, it's always tough conversations we're having, but what comes out of those tough conversations, I think we get some really smart ideas about the way we should be looking at things. I think we're rethinking the way our community reacts to these, to them both for OCM and for SLA as well, in terms of what the expectations are, what they're doing, and what roles they play in our neighborhood. Again, there are going to be some questions and some conversations we're having with public safety in terms of what parameters we set. I think that we need to be consistent. You know, we need to be fair, but we need to be consistent as well in terms of what times we're talking about operating, what conditions, and making sure that people understand what our expectations are if they're coming to Community Board 9 to open up shop. So there'll be additional commentary with respect to that. I think that is all I have for right now. I may have some additional items as additional information comes in, so I'll be able to relay that when we get to the general board meeting next week, Tuesday. So I conclude with that. I will entertain any questions at this time.
I don't have a question, Fred, but when we close on questions, I'd love to do just 2 seconds on the family of the Hartleys that have come about the rats multiple times.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for that as well. Okay, well, listen, unless anybody has any questions, we're going to go right to Primo. Seeing none, Primo, they want to hear from you. Go ahead, sir.
Cool. I'm sure many of you, all of you, remember the Hartley family who have come multiple times to our community board meetings complaining about rats. They live on Empire and are in between a few businesses. And so about 3 weeks ago, went down and visited them on a Sunday and saw their property so that we could kind of like get our hands on this issue. I want to really say thank you to Dante and to Mia. And then asked Dante and me to set up a meeting with DSNY. So they did that. We met with the family, the Hartleys, as well as the borough commissioner and the borough commissioner's boss from New York City Central, which was a pretty big deal. They came down and sat down with us and the family and committed to moving towards imposing fines, but also increasing the level of education for the block and awareness as to when and how it is appropriate to dispose of garbage. And so trying to approach this from 2 different perspectives, one bringing community together and education, and the other side making sure that we are actually appropriately giving fines to folks that are breaking the rules. They've also recommended that we reach out to, and we have reached out to via Dante, the office of the Rat Czar in New York. But I've been in touch with the Hartleys basically ever since. Just got a text today from the younger Hartley, the daughter, saying there are way more dead rats, which is a good sign. Actually, as strange as that may sound, it means that they are not eating trash. It means they are either starving or eating each other. And they're also doubling up and spending some of their own money on exterminators. There's a lot of detail that I could go into here, but it seems like they are happier and things are moving in the right direction. I also want to note that the younger Hartley, Miss Hartley, Shania Hartley, applied to be a member of the community board, which is a good thing. So those are some updates just on that front for folks, because frankly, it's been a little embarrassing to have them come back month after month. And I think we just got to start moving in the direction of a solution for these folks, but bringing them in is a good thing.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. All right, are there any questions with respect to that, or? Okay. All right, thank you very much for that. And you know what, and I definitely want to just make one quick comment about that. That's why I think it's important that as a board, we are opening and that we welcome people and they feel that this is a place that they can come to give these things. We don't know what the problems are unless people tell us. We don't always know what we don't know. So this is that instance where they came and they told us, and I'm glad that our first vice chair was willing to take the reins on this one and work along with our district office team to try and see if we could start the dialogue and start the process of addressing these issues in the district. And I just encourage us to keep doing that and serve as ambassadors. You know, if we're out there in whatever spaces we're in and whatever places we're in, when we hear these complaints, to be willing to say, I can help, to help them guide through that process again, beating that drum. Let's make sure that these complaints are registered with the city through 311. And again, bringing it back to the board so we can work on it in any ways we can to help people, to help our neighbors. But again, Primo, thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Now, to this point of community, just one last thing to mention was that there was one other person who was at the meeting, which was Rabbi Eli Cohen, who is, Dante, maybe you can remind me of his title, but the head of the Orthodox Community Organization in Crown Heights. And we are many different Crown Heights, but we're also one Crown Heights. And so it's like nice to see everybody sit down and have those conversations at the same table. And then he did a lot on his end as well in terms of engaging the Orthodox community that's right there.
Phenomenal. Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. We are now going to go into setting the agenda. All right, and I want us to be cognizant as we're doing this. We have a number of items. Well, actually, before we do that, we'll take care of one piece of business. Okay, so there's the one item that I want us for the exec members to. Well, actually, I'll say this. Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll just so we can establish quorum for the exec?
Hold on 1 minute. We coming. Yes, sir. Hold on 1 minute. Let me get back my page. Fred Baptiste.
Present.
Primo Lozana. Primo Lozana.
I'm here.
Francisco Leopold.
Yeah.
Linda Watson Lord here. Mina Legote. Nicholas Almanar.
Present.
Dexter Roberts. Dexter Roberts.
Present.
Thank you. Mrs. Chair, we've got full boards.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Just this one piece of business I want to dispatch so we can move on. We had the presentation from the Education and Youth Services for that youth Black History Month event at Jackie Robinson, scheduled for next week on the 28th. All right. So yeah, on February 28th, I believe was the date. Okay. This is not a resource intensive. This sounds like there's going to be volunteers from the board that are going to be going for this. With that being said, I think we should be able to approve this. I'm not sure that this is something that, you know, rises to a level of concern for the board. We can approve this in advance because of the timetable. Is there any objection for us approving this event by common consent?
No.
Okay. Do I hear any objection to approving this event by common consent for the executive committee? Okay. All right. Hearing no objection, Madam Secretary, please record that the event is approved by the executive committee for next week. Okay. And so please just make sure you work with the district office just so that way we can forward that information to the board in case there are any other members of the board who might be interested as well in participating in the event, so that way they can do that as well. Okay. All right. So now that we've done that, so now we're going to go to the actually setting the agenda. All right. So we're going to begin with the public session. Okay, so there's gonna be the call to order, rules of conduct. Dante, are there any presentations scheduled for this
No.
month? I'm sorry?
No.
Okay, no presentations. So we have SLA, and we have a few items, I guess. So one, we have Balboa for this month.
Mhm.
Two, was it Union Station?
Yes.
Union Station Pub, or Union Street Pub? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Union Street.
Union Street.
Sorry about that. I got my abbreviations mixed up. Union Street Pub. And then three, we have the OCM application. I'm sorry, OCM application for Flatbush Exotics.
Dr. Brett, is that it? Number 1, 2, or 3?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I was joking. I was asking if it was Flatbush Exotic number 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, that's a good question. Janelle, which one is this one?
It's just Flatbush Exotics.
Okay, and we'll make sure you
Okay.
have the address information will be added as part of that as well. So that's fine. Okay, they all spoke. Now, there were a couple of applicants who presented last month. Do they need to present again this month, or we can just consider them as part of the business session?
We can consider them a part of the business session.
Okay, all right. So we'll just take these presentations, but the other applications will be voted on since we did all out of the business last month. Okay, all right. So after SLA applications, I'm sorry, hold on.
So, Mr. Chair, there will be 6, well, actually 5 SLA, because the 3 from last month, Esther Hadas, Joseph Dreamberger, and Rodeo Buckland. So it'll be 5.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll add those. Yeah, so keep that note. So we'll add those. Those will be part of the voting session. All right. Okay. After that, we will go into public comment. After public comment, we will have acknowledgements. And then we will open the business session. Okay, which will be roll call, followed by approval of minutes. Okay, followed by committee report. Followed by district manager's report. Okay, Madam Treasurer, did you want to give a report this month, or are you going to defer for this month? Yeah, mine, are you there? Oh, I'm sorry, I can barely hear you. Do you have a report for this month, or? Okay.
No, I won't be able to attend the meeting this month.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. Okay, so then that'll be followed by the chair's report. The district manager's report followed by the chair's report.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So, I'm sorry, I thought I heard. Okay, all right. Okay, then we're going to go to voting items. And this is where it gets fun. I have currently for voting items. We have the 2 SLA applications. So we have Balboa. We have Union Street Pub. We have Flatbush Exotics.
Yeah, What did you say, Mr. Chair, after Babo?
Babo's Union Street Pub.
I got those two, but the third one, what did you call the third one?
That OCM application for Flatbush Exotics.
Okay, cool. Right. Okay.
Okay. All right. I need your assistance here. What were the applications, the SLA applications we didn't do last month?
Ready? Esther Hadassah Corp. doing business as 9 Restaurant. That's 43 Lincoln Road.
Okay.
That's the application for renewal.
Wait, can I just say it's not 9 Restaurant, it's Ish, which is yeah.
I know it was wrong, but when I looked at the English after I called it, I was like, no, that's not it. Sorry.
We called it IX the first time,
IX.
but it's Ish. for now.
Each right, each restaurant. All right,
Okay.
then it's then Joseph Dreamberger, that 333 Kingston Avenue.
Joseph's Dreamburger. Okay.
And the last one, Rodeo Brooklyn LLC, and that's at 1134 to 1136 President Street.
Okay. So those are 3 SLA applications.
Mm-hmm.
Those are holders are from last month. Were there any OCM applications held over?
Not from last month, but there were some 2 other items.
Right. One of the other items we have to do is we have to consider the letter of support.
Right on, you got it.
Yep.
That's it. And what about landmark?
Thank you very much for that. Yes. And 8 landmarks. $418 Rogers. Okay. Okay. Landmark 4. Okay. All right. Were there any other items that we had unfinished business from last month?
No, I think that was it. We did the fresh, we did the gaming, we did the green track.
Okay.
I think.
All right, good. So after that consideration, there is no other unfinished business. So we just have any new business and then we adjourn. All right. Were there any other items that are missing from the agenda as I stated? And I will say right off the bat,
sorry, sir. Sorry. There's one thing that I remember when we removal of board members.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you.
Yeah, I know there was something I had in my mind. I forgot.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, removal of board members. And just as a quick update with respect to that. So there were originally 4 members who were identified for removal. 2 of those have already submitted letters of resignation, so they are no longer on our roster. Dante, I think there were 2 members that were you able to reach out to them? Have you received any additional word?
I haven't received any communication from them, but I will send a follow-up and likely even call, do a welfare, just to check in on them.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that. And just to be clear as well, because I know that there were some concerns and questions raised at the last board meeting. This is definitely not the fun thing. We do this very lightly in terms of requesting, putting them up for removals, but the numbers are just clear that they are not part of the board. I think that for the last 2 members, one has not attended a single meeting in the last 6 to 8 months. I believe both of them have not attended a single meeting in the last 6 to 8 months. Or between the 2 of them, if I'm being charitable, 1 meeting between the 2 of them in the last 8 months. Absolutely unacceptable. And again, it affects our ability to do business. So those 2 members will be up with, for removal. There will be some one last outreach done by the district office, but they will be on the, there will be an item for the board to consider at next week's meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Madam Secretary, for catching that. All right. Are there any other items that need to be added as part of this agenda? Okay. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion at this time to adopt the agenda as stated.
So moved.
I have it moved by Member at Large Nicholas Almanor. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by First Vice Chair Primo Lasana. Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Is there any objection to adopting the agenda as stated by common consent?
No.
Okay, call for a second time. Any objection?
No.
Okay,
No, sir.
all right, hearing none, Madam Secretary, please note for the record, the agenda is adopted by common consent.
Thank you. Noted.
Okay, also, I do want to note as well, there was a concern about another resolution that was done by the Housing Committee. We will look into that and we will see if it's appropriate. We will make the addition if, as necessary, potentially. So we'll look and see what the record says with regards to the housing resolution. Okay. All right. So with that, we have, is there any new business for the exec committee at this time? Okay, hearing none, we have completed our agenda. I want to thank all the members of the exec.
Sir, Mr. Chair, before you go, I just some clarification on well, not clarification. I didn't really hear as to the proposal that was presented at I think it was the last meeting from the doctors at the hospital for the support letter. Was that rejected? Because I know it was something which I totally agreed, and it was brought up by one of our committee members, and it was something that we did discuss when we had our meeting, that if we did send out that support letter, then when you do for one, then everybody else will come to the table asking for support letter in that area as well. So I know it was something that you said that we would visit, but I didn't really hear anything on that, whether they were told, well, we are not able to support them or whatever the case may be.
And also the other union that came to the meeting last month, we should just check with corporate counsel on both, yeah.
And I'll make sure that we check that. So it's on, we have that letter of support on the agenda. And I will check with corporation counsel and I'll confirm if it's something that's even in the scope of the board, if we can do it. If not, it'll be removed, but I'll get word back. Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, you talking about the CIRSEIU
Yes.
union? Good,
Correct.
thank you.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. All right then. So hearing no other business, I thank everyone for your energy and your passion for this community and your service. I call this meeting adjourned. Madam Secretary, please note we are adjourning at 9:05 p.m.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone have a great night, and we will see you next week, Tuesday, on the 27th.
Good night, folks.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone. Great meeting. Great meeting.